everybody, and welcome. This is day 6 of our Yoga for One Yoga Month Challenge. I'm your host, Dr. Suzie Carmack, and author of Yoga for One. Today's practice is going to focus on our 6th chakra, which is our chakra of insight. And what that means is that we're going to connect to our ability to stand strong and to find ourselves opening up to the possibilities around us. So with that, we're going to change it up a bit, and we're not facing the chair, but we're actually having the chair back to us, as you'll see, and we're going to be doing some standing postures with some chair support. Keep in mind that everyone is a different height and every chair is different. So if you're taller relative to your chair and you need a higher chair or to use a wall, feel free to do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to actually find ourselves in a supported stance, holding onto the chair, and just come into what is sometimes called pliés in dance, but these are a little different because we're leaning forward. As we bend the knees, let's take a moment to check the knees are tracking with the center toes so that your knees aren't rolling in. If you've taken your feet too far outward and your knee is rolling in, let's not force the knee where it doesn't want to go. Let's bring the toe to where the knee wants to be. Once you find that sense of security, you can choose to move the legs a little bit, or perhaps you'd like to hold the posture a little longer. Let's take our hand to the lower abdominals. If your balance is strong and you're feeling steady, it's okay if it's not, by the way. You can either hold on to the chair or take the hand off. Let's take a few breaths here to feel rooted into the ground. When we think about a jump, the first thing that needs to happen is that we need to ground before we propel. So part of being open to the possibilities in our 6th chakra or third eye is actually grounding ourselves to what is. So hang in there with me, as what is probably that our legs are talking to us. Let's come on up to standing. So in that pose, our hips were turned out. We're going to come into a pose called Warrior 2 that's going to ask one hip to turn out, the one closest to the chair, and the other hip to turn in. So let's think about how our hip and our knee and our toes relate, and bring not just our knee or our toes in, but the whole thing inwardly rotating so that our left foot, in my case, or whatever foot's away from the chair for you, is pointing towards the chair. As we do that, our hips may want to start to sink a little bit and get a little shifty, but we don't want that. We want to be nice and stable. So try to ground yourself with finding a place where your hips feel even. You might even take your hands here, and if you feel one hand is higher, then you know that the hips aren't so even. From here, let's hang onto the chair and bend our knee and come back out again. And just see how our stance is feeling. Maybe you're craving more distance. Maybe you want to come a little closer. That's totally fine. And once you find the place you'd like to stay, you have now found yourself in Warrior 2. We should feel strong in our bent leg side, a little more open in our long leg hip. And if our foot is moving a little bit, as mine honestly is, see if you can anchor down as best you can. Imagine that your feet are like suction cups, that they're kind of pulling up energy from the floor. And that upward trend rises through the legs, through the torso, until you're radiating outward. Let's take the hand away from the chair and just feel your wingspan. So all that gathering of strength below is rippling out like a fountain. Our final details can include looking towards the chair, or at least that arm. And if we're feeling steady, we might take the hand off. Take a few breaths there. Continuing the journey to a gentle triangle, let's bring our hands back to the chair and to our hip and lengthen the leg that was just working so hard there, the one closest to the chair. And then let's allow our torso to lean as one unit. So not to go circular like a letter C, but to find the rectangle shape of taking the hips out this time as we lean towards the chair. Here we're probably feeling a little more of stretch on the inner thigh. We can also change the hand placement to the chair if that feels right. This hand can stay at the hip, or we might even open it up to the sky. And as you saw my eyes wanting to go, the gaze can be upward or downward depending on what feels right for your neck. I'm going to keep mine upward, thinking about how we can open ourselves up to the world around us, to those that care for us, to that which isn't seen. So much beyond what the eyes can see. Let's take the hand down and bend the knee. So we're bringing the limbs close to get out of the pose. So let's bring the arm in and bend this knee so that we can get our hand back to the top of the chair and come to standing. Before we come to the opposite side, we're going to do one more pose on this side. That was Warrior 2. Now we're going to Warrior 1, which is backwards, but you'll see why in a moment. So as you come out of the pose, see if you can carefully bring the leg in, whatever that takes for you, slowly, no jarring movements, please, and move towards the chair. So we're going to start with a lunge. This is a little higher up than the lunges we've done so far in this series. You may have noticed that on all the lunges I've done so far with you, they've been basically on the chair seat with the torso long, along the diagonal of the spine. But here we're challenging the mobility of the hip by coming upward. As we do that, the low back is going to want to kind of round when we get to hip limitation. So let's just simply counter lever by pointing the tailbone down to the ground. And at some sweet spot, you will feel the stretch in the hip, contracting the gluteals to help release the hip group, otherwise known as the hip flexors. So this is actually a lunge. Let's lean forward and come into a more traditional Warrior 2. The heel anchors down. So it's like the back foot, in my case, it's the left foot, it's facing to about a 10 o'clock. And come upright. Here you'll notice it's just about impossible to take the hip forward because the heel has anchored us out and it's starting to open us up. But feel like you're reaching towards the front, not that you have to square the hips. That would be physically impossible without lifting the heel. From here, let's make the modifications that work for your body. Holding onto the chair for steadiness and anchoring. Coming back to your heart to find what's true for you. Or opening yourself up to the possibilities, almost like you're receiving a message through the hand. If it feels comfortable to take both arms up, feel free. Or not. They're just options. What feels right for you today is the yoga. It's not a competition. Let's lean forward, lift up our back heel, and bring the back foot in. Let's come into a gentle modified airplane, finding our spine long so that our hips and our hands are even with our head. Feel the side body stretch here. Just take a few breaths to feel like you're a human two-way arrow, pointing backward and forward at the same time. And gently lifting the hips as you walk forward. Okay, so we did several poses on one side, so guess what that means? We need to do the other side. Let's not mindlessly move the chair. Let's be careful. Chair pose to pick up the chair and carefully move it to the opposite side. Making sure it's on that stable surface. So let's come back in our flow first with both hips open, that is. Taking the flow, a second set. This was a fitness setting. See how you feel to move on the breath. Oftentimes when folks have a fitness background, they find the breathing in yoga to be opposite, really common. If that's happening for you, just breathe. Do the breath that works for you. See if you can take about 5 breaths in the posture, holding on or placing the hands on the thighs, zipping in the abdominals, maybe even taking the hands to the chest. Can you keep your mind steady, even in a moment of great effort? This is one of the many practical resilience skills that our yoga practice gives us. On the next exhale, let's come to standing. Let's find that Warrior 2 on the opposite side. The leg closest to the chair turns in, so it's parallel with the chair. And then this outward leg turns in. So they're both facing in the same direction. If it's your left leg, this leg is at 9 o'clock. This leg's at like 11 o'clock. Okay, so let's bend the knee. And remember, as we kind of find the pose on Warrior 2, we're trying not to tilt the hips. That comes later in triangle. We're trying to keep even. So we may need a little more space or a little less space to feel steady. and comfortable and yet challenged all at the same time. All right, so once you find the posture, we have so many choices. Finding your tall body, using those suction cup feet we talked about. That's called Pada Bandha, by the way. Lengthening one arm out as you float the fingertips just below the shoulder. Zipping in the abdominals and lifting the pelvic floor for extra support. And then taking the gaze over the hand. If it's feeling okay, we can float both arms up. Warrior two. As you find the posture and you find the breath, find the rise from your feet to your torso and the release through your hands and head. Exhaling as the hand comes down and the opposite hand comes to our hip. This is where we get to lengthen the bent leg side and we get to tilt the hips. Trying to keep that rectangle shape of torso, not collapsing, but keeping the box of the torso long and strong. We may be able to go to the chair seat here. As we do this, the body may want to shift forward to the floor. Let's see if we can feel almost like a cartwheel would, or some people use the cue between two panes of glass. I don't know if I want to be between two panes of glass, no offense. So just feeling your side body like a paper doll would. Taking yourself out to the side, not going forward. So that might mean going less, but then in that case it's more because we're focusing on the side body and consistent with our intention. Let's lift the arm up. We can take the gaze upward or forward or downward. And think about this triangle posture variation. Triangle being the connection of your mind, body, and heart. It could be any triangle that connects for you, metaphorically speaking. And in the last pose, we thought about reaching and receiving energy from above. Here we might think about sending it out, almost like you'd send a telegram back in the old days, or an email today. Who would you like to send a message to? Bringing the hand into the hip, bending the knee, and coming back to being upright. Let's carefully bring the hand in, or the foot in, that is, and lean into the foot leg, the standing leg, and all that security enables us to mobilize the free leg. Here's where we come into our lunge on the opposite side, and we do our best to keep the hips square, to not sink into our low back, to point the tailbone down, to contract the gluteals. Lots of thinking going on. But once we find the pose, to feel that sense of steadiness. We think about a lunge, it's like taking a step, taking a leap even, taking a step forward. So as you stay in the pose, think about what you'd like to step forward into today. What vision would you like to step into? And then let's show up for that vision with a sense of warrior's peace, taking the back heel down, and holding on to the chair as it's comfortable and right for us today. The hands down are symbolic of feeling grounded, connected to the earth, even though it's through the chair. Hands to heart, symbolic of trusting yourself, trusting your intuition. Hands upward can mean thinking the big picture, receiving grace from above. Wherever you choose to be that works for your body, or maybe a combination of those two, is what matters. It is your practice, your little piece of the road. Gently placing the hand on the chair, let's lean forward, pick up the back heel, and take ourselves back to standing. Let's take a few breaths here. Inhaling as the arms come up. Imagine that your vision is between the hands. You could see it in your mind's eye. Bringing that reality towards you, the grace of the support of the world around you, and divine energy, and however you conceptualize that. Coming into your mind's eye, supporting you with focus on the vision without going into tunnel vision. Into your mouth and hands, helping you to express yourself through the vision. Coming into your heart, knowing that the visions you hold in your mind and your heart matter as the world continues to expand. Showing up fully with your core values for your intention. Going with the flow, stepping forward or back as needed to make it happen. And standing strong and knowing you're right where you're meant to be. Thank you so much for joining me for these practices and for connecting this way. I hope to support you however I can, but for now, I want to thank you for giving yourself a space to connect your mind, body, heart, and spirit. Namaste.